Hello again, my name is Dr. Bill Johnson. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Exploring Our Schools. What has almost become an annual event here at Southside, certainly the event takes place, but the opportunity for us to celebrate it with some of the very, very important participants in the annual musical that we put on at Southside is something I always look forward to and something I look forward to sharing with you today. So I have our teacher, director, Pam Seidemann. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And two of the principals in the production, one on the stage side. Stephanie Rhodes is no stranger to this set. You've been here before. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And Elias Sheegan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll get into your role in just a few minutes. You know, a lot of people don't know a lot about the Broadway show. They know a lot about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But the event itself is really seared in so many memories of so many people. You say Titanic and everybody knows. It's just one of those words that just conjures up so much in so many people. Not just my generation,
Right.
but so many generations. Why this?
Right. That's really, so in the program, I actually have a section, a page where I say, why Titanic? Because I think that I get that a lot. I think when I first proposed to Mr. Murphy, everyone was surprised.
Well, we were surprised also.
Yeah, so
I had to look twice and said, wait a minute.
I think that, I was in, a couple of summers ago, I, with my family, traveled, we were in Northern Ireland, we were in Belfast, and we were in this big exhibit at the Titanic, a Titanic exhibit, and I think that must have sowed a seed for me, but that really, I think there's three main reasons I picked this show. One is it's a huge ensemble cast with so many named characters that are the real historical characters on the ship. And I thought, what a great opportunity for so many kids to get involved and play people who really existed, and then tie that to history and be able to do research.
So they can actually research the names of these people
Right.
for whom a lot is written.
Exactly, and that's a kind of different process for an actor, because usually they're playing a made-up character and they can make up their own backstory, but now here we have real people to portray on stage. The second thing is it's a gorgeous score. It did win the Tony for Best Musical, Best Score, Best Set. Again, as you said, and a lot of people don't know that, it was 1997, and it predates the film. So it's not the film version. It came before the film, but it's just a beautiful, wonderful score, almost operatic in nature. And the third reason is the themes that really still resonate today. Two of the main themes, I think. One is about immigration to America, and these are our ancestors that we're portraying on stage, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, and their dreams for coming to America to start a better life. And that, obviously, immigration is still such an important topic today. And then the other one is the division of the classes and the disparity between the first class and the second class and third class passengers. And class disparity, obviously, is another important so even though it was 1912, it's still so relevant today. So that's why.
You know, it's incredible, too, also, some of, and again, just from a personal point of view, it brought out some really incredible personal characteristics in some people that you would never have anticipated. People became real heroes that night, and there were some incredible, interesting love stories. I mean, that was the whole theme of the movie itself.
Yeah. Well, the idea of heroism is true, and people giving up their seats on the lifeboat for other people, and that's shown a little bit in this. And in the musical, there's several love stories. The Strausses, which are a historical couple, the woman, Ida Strauss, refuses to leave her husband. And a couple different movie versions portray this, where you see them, staying in their room and they won't leave each other. That's portrayed in this musical. There's a young couple, Irish couple, who meet and fall in love. So it's sort of similar, perhaps, to Rose and Jack, but different. They're real people. There's that love story. There's a second-class love. There's two second-class couples who have a love story. One of them portrayed by Eilish, one of the women their sort of love story. Although they're fighting most of the ship, it truly is a love story. So and then there's the love story. A character has a love story with Marconi, in a way, with the technology.
Yeah.
A character who's operating Marconi's telegraph, which had just been invented, and so you could communicate with other ships. It was remarkable. And the architect has a love story with the ship itself. So there's other kinds of love stories, not just between people, but between technology
I think that may have, one of the reasons why it struck a chord with so many, is that there's so many different stories that emerged from just one particular tragedy.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the, Ehrlich, if you don't mind, I'm just going to jump in before we get to the set, because I want to talk about that somewhat too as well, and your role. But talk to me about your character and your perception of all of what took place at.
Okay, so I'm playing Alice Bean, and she's a second-class passenger, and she's on the ship with her husband, Edgar, who he works in hardware, and they're from Indianapolis, Indiana, so they're like the Midwestern American couple on the ship. And from the moment I get on the boat, I'm just obsessed with, like, the Astors, the Wideners, the Strausses, and, like, the entire time, my driving force is just to be like, come on, Edgar, like, why can't we have that? Why can't we be more, you know? So, and he's like, I'm giving you all, like, I'm working so hard for you and this, and like, why can't you just appreciate what I'm giving you? And the entire time I'm like, branch out, like, we could be that, and like, and I'm just like absolutely obsessed with the first class passengers. So like, it really does, like, it focuses heavily on like the class distinctions and stuff like that, and you see it like how the third class was treated versus the second and the first, like in so many different scenes. And it's just like the entire time I have this just like obsession with the first class, and it's like, it's been like fun to play that. But yeah.
How does your character see the differences between herself and the first class?
Well, like,
Is it just money, or what?
I think that it's money, and like I make this point in I have a duet with my husband, and I'm like, he says to me like, that's why I arranged this trip, I want to show you the world. And I say like, I don't want to see the world, there's like too many other places I'd rather see first. And I go into this whole like, I want to be on like a resort with like a sandy beach. So it's just like, I guess like relaxation and like being comfortable with like how much money you have and stuff like that. And I guess it's sort of just like having this like wanting to have like luxury and like beautiful like dresses and all this stuff that you see the first class has. Like they have this like big number where they're in like their dining salon, and they have like, they're talking about all like they met the Queen and like all the like fun stuff that they get to do being first class passengers, versus like we're middle class Americans, and that still like resonates today. I feel like I have like a personal connection to like a lot of people, like still today you always want a little bit more than what you have, so that resonates.
How was your character? Did you like her?
She's funny. She's like, it's different from going from last year. Like, it was not a realistic show at all. It's like, and this year, like, you have to take like realistic approaches to that. So you have to remember, like, these are people. Right. Like, you have to act like people would act in these scenarios. Like, when you're being ripped apart from your husband, when you have to go on a lifeboat and he can't, and stuff like that. But the entire time, she's just like, she's so like obsessed with herself, the first class. Like, she's just like, she's trying to make an impression the entire time. Like, she won't go up to the lifeboats until like her face looks good and she's like ready to be like, and she's just like, I want to be with the Astors, I want to be in their lifeboat. So like, I mean, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, this is superficial, and you're like, you're not thinking about like the monstrosity of what actually is happening, but it's very like interesting to see.
You know what always amazes me about the ability of actors, and how as students, even at a very young age, to become somebody else.
Yeah.
Do you think you've become her in some sense? I mean, you think you dream like she dreams?
In a way, yeah. Like, I feel like I spent so much time researching the actual woman who Alice is, and preparing to be her, and thinking like she thinks, and like trying to like understand her point of view, and like why these are her objectives and like super objectives throughout the entire play, you know. So in a way, yes, I really do connect to her, and I love this part, and she's like a dreamer, and I really like, I think it's a nice story ultimately. Like, she's trying to just like push her husband along to like make something for their family, and I like respect that, coming from a middle class perspective my entire life. So
right. So let me use that as an opportunity to just kind of walk into the world in which you live, which is making all of this happen. I mean, tell me a little bit about, I mean, look, I mean, I know we've done this before, but it's worth repeating, the role that you play in
So I am the stage manager of Titanic, and which means from day one, I am at every single rehearsal, writing down blocking, helping people with their lines, helping people with whatever they need, and I then, towards the end of the process, that's when the technology takes over, and we add the lighting, the sound, the set, and we make sure everything runs smoothly. And I'm the person that calls everything, so I'm the one that's saying, lighting cue, go, lighting sound cue, go, making sure everything happens at the correct time, and making sure everyone can be seen, and making sure everything happens correctly.
You've become a real pro at this, haven't you? I mean, what are we going to do without her? Oh, my
She's
goodness.
amazing.
Huh?
Yeah, she's
you.
also a problem solver. She jumps in where she's not needed,
Yep.
not necessarily even her job to sort of figure out what to do, and thinks one step ahead of everyone, of me, too. To see what
Well,
my-
I must tell you, by the way, this has really intruded on the life of so many people who use that auditorium on a regular basis. I mean, what happened to the pit? You took it over. I mean,
Yeah.
you've really taken over.
So I think with this set, in order to give the enormity of the show, we need to make the set match that. So in order for that to happen, we needed to build that bridge so you could see that there are two levels to this, and we needed to build that passerelle, which essentially could be the bow of the ship. The ship is on the stage to give that illusion that you can see it and that it's there and you're able to experience the ship and the show how everyone wants you to.
One of the more fascinating things about this, and I know in conversations we've had about it, is that it's a sinking ship. It's just not something that's sitting there level in the water.
Yeah.
This is disappearing from the horizon.
Right.
So our perspective needs to change a little bit as the play progresses. How do you do that?
So, Mr. Reed, the technical advisor, and the play prod class have been working hard on engineering the set so we'd be able to do this. And they've built many different platforms for us, and they've built many different ramps so that we are able to do that. So during intermission, backstage, the crew doesn't stop. We're setting up the set so the ship's tilted. Because at the climax of Act 1, the ship hits the iceberg. So we need to be able to give that illusion of the set falling and the set falling into the ocean. So giving that those levels and being able to see that tilt and the skew of the set is definitely helping us. So I give full credit to the play prod class and all those people in that class being able to do that and seeing it come to life, which is absolutely incredible.
Isn't that amazing how you say that it just comes to life? And I mean, that's really what the stage manager does. You make this production come to life.
Yeah.
So that we feel a part of it when we sit there in the audience, right? So I'm just looking forward to seeing this because there's so much that we know and so much we don't. And there were so many different stories.
Yeah.
Now, anything funny?
Oh.
I mean,
Yeah, I know, it does seem like it's a tragedy, and
Yeah.
so the composers, the writers of the shows did put a few moments of lightness in there to give relief from from the fact that it's a musical tragedy.
It is.
So, but you want to talk about any of the fun moments in the show, or?
There's two. The first class has latest rag, which is like their Sunday morning after church. They're like all dancing out on the deck, like having fun. And then the third class, they're down in their like dining saloon and whatever. They have like a little Irish jig. So there are moments where, and like even from when we get on the ship, like you see that like that optimism and hope that all these people had, like whether it was immigrating to America or just like going on a ship for
Its
joy.
first maiden voyage.
Yeah, and like all those people have that like just like this is gonna be amazing feeling, and like you feel that the moment we all step on stage and we just see this like ginormous ship. So I mean the demise of it ultimately is sad, but there are moments where it's like you see the progression of getting on to the sinking. So there's fun moments throughout the course of the journey.
Yes, it is a journey, isn't it? Right.
Yes.
When it's so interesting you use that word. Every play, to some extent, is a journey.
Absolutely.
Now, we know this does not end well for a lot of people, but it did end well. Now, does your character survive?
Yes, she does survive. So, but my husband does not survive. So
Ouch.
that is like there's a sad moment where, after we've been fighting the entire show, he like makes me get in the lifeboat, even though I like don't really want to leave him. And I'm just like, I was like, I love you, Edgar, because it's like the first moment where I'm being genuine with him after I'm just like yelling at him the entire time and saying like, come on, like do more for us. But it's really sad at the end. And then at the final moment, like tableau, you see all of the survivors with like their blankets, and then we come back in with the dead people, and it's just like I like circle around him, and it's just like so sad to think like leaving your husband, or like the Thayers, like Mr. John Thayer leaves his like son like on the ship, and it's like such a sad, like thinking about like leaving my mom or leaving my dad, like it makes me so upset. So like it's just sad thinking about that moment.
But those are the moments of real heroism, and I guess you have an opportunity in this play, I guess, to really tug at the heartstrings of so many different ways.
Right. I don't think there's been many musicals we've done over the years where there is that where the audience will have opportunities, bring your tissues for tears. But I don't want people to feel like they're going to walk away, feeling sad, because I think that there is a sort of uplifting moment at the end. And, without explaining too much, I mean, I think the feeling of the show, the way the composers have created it, there is a feeling of hope again at the end. And you're right, it tells a lot of, you will see the sort of characters you might perceive as villains, and you'll also see the characters that emerge as heroes.
There were survivors.
Their life
went on, and they were able to tell the story.
Yes, absolutely. And, a lot of it is a story, the character, the important character in the show that, is the ship itself. And a lot of it is about, I say this again in a program about hubris, about how much we're trying to reach the greatest, the best, the biggest ship. That's what this was. And an acknowledgement that, humans make errors, because whether you think that it was this was human error or couldn't have been helped, the iceberg, sort of if you believe that it's an intervention, it's a fate, whatever you might believe, because we don't really know exactly, there is a truth to the fact of, acknowledging our limitations, even though we strive for greatness, that there are things beyond our control.
So all of that is built into this.
It really is. It's very
so much
deep.
to relate to. Right. I'm really anxious to see it. Anyway, Stephanie, if I could just go back just for one moment. We don't have a whole lot of time. When you said bringing this to life again, there's so many people involved. I mean, we're talking to one person, but you said there's a large ensemble this time.
Yeah, definitely.
You got to cue everybody and keeping
yeah.
it all alive, right?
Yeah, this past week we've been working on finalizing everything on stage, making sure everything looks flawless. But also in the background, I've been working with the crew to make sure all the set changes work perfectly, and I've been making run sheets with my with one of my friends, Emma Wills, and she and I have been working really hard on that to make sure everything backstage, even though I will be cueing it, they can do it on their own if they need to. They have the tools necessary. So if I miss something, which I will never because I'm too anxious, but if I miss something, it happens anyway, and I see it happen, and it's a relief, because these people are brought in later into the process. We've been working since January. They've been working since last week. And the pit has been working since January as well, and they're absolutely incredible.
Yes.
They blew me away the first time I ever heard it,
Beautiful.
which was our first rehearsal with them, and it was incredible just hearing both those parts come together. It was touching, honestly, seeing that we could bring the two forces together and make something absolutely amazing.
I'm anxious to meet you on stage. Right?
Yeah.
There's a heart in her.
There
at the
is.
end, and it comes out at the end.
Yes, definitely. And as a lover of history, and I want to major in history, being able to, it comes down to, who lives, who dies, who tells your story. So, having that historical perspective of, being able to, share these real people's stories and, this tragic event on stage. I love history, I love theater, being able to bring those two things together to, teach a lesson and show this truth in art. It's really beautiful to be able to do that in my senior year, and it makes me
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm going to use your words to end. We're at the end. You want to share with other people, we want to share it, and that's part of the reason for doing the shows, that everybody has an opportunity to learn a little bit about what we're going to produce next week. One of the things I didn't ask was when it happens.
Right. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, that's April 19th, 20th, and 21st at 7:30 PM.
Say it again.
April 19th, 20th, and 21st, 7:30
p.m.,
PM.
right.
If you haven't gotten your tickets, you can purchase them at the door. It's family-friendly, so everybody will enjoy it at all ages, and we really, really.
And everybody
hope
thinks they
everyone
know the story of the Titanic.
But they
We're going to
don't.
show them that
Yeah.
there are many other stories that they don't know.
comes.
Right.
That's absolutely
So this
true.
is great.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you at the play next week. So thanks again. See you soon. Bye now. You guys were great. Thank you.